Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin. The call came in just as we were sealing the access panel on the Gulfstream. I was leaning over the wing, hands still slick with sealant, when my cell buzzed inside my coveralls. Thought it might be the parts supplier. It wasn't. "Dana, it's Carol." Her voice hit like a cold draft in a warm room, tight, clipped, like she was checking off a chore. "You busy?" I stepped off the ladder and wiped my hands on a rag. Always. "What's up?" "Well," she said, dragging it out like she was giving me time to brace for impact, "we're putting together a family celebration. A big one. Everyone's coming. It's at Redstone Country Club next month." I waited, confused. "Okay." There was a pause. I could hear her swallowing, or maybe smirking. "It's an achievement-themed reunion. A chance to celebrate everyone's success. Natalie just made partner at her law firm, Tim's firm just hit 8 figures, and Connor's dental surgery practice just opened its 3rd location. Good for them," I said flatly, already feeling where this was going. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Carol cleared her throat. "Look, Dana, I'm going to be honest. This isn't really the kind of event that suits your line of work." I blinked. "My line of work?" "Fixing planes," she said, like it was a disease. "You know, that blue-collar stuff. It's admirable, sure. But this event is more about big-picture success." I couldn't stop the laugh that slipped out. "Right." Big picture Carol didn't laugh. "This isn't personal. It's just optics. We're inviting some people from the Chamber of Commerce. It's a professional environment. I just think you'd be more comfortable sitting this one out." I looked across the hangar. The Gulfstream we'd restored gleamed under the LED bays, polished to mirror finish. Our team had rebuilt the avionics, reskinned part of the fuselage, even upgraded the landing gear. It was about to be delivered to a defense contractor out of Seattle. Not exactly a back alley tire rotation. "I appreciate the call," I said, voice steady. "Thanks for letting me know." "Well, I just didn't want you to feel." I ended the call before she finished. Walked back to my office in the corner of the hangar suite. Picked up the framed certificate sitting next to a model P-51 Mustang on my desk. Federal Aviation Administration Distinguished Innovator Award. Presented to Dana Blake. 2023 Blue Collar. My ass. I put the frame back down and picked up the work order for the next jet. I walked back through the hangar bay, past the nose of the Gulfstream, straight into the office suite off the west wall. The floors were polished concrete, the walls plain white, and the desk was a beat-up oak slab I'd sanded down myself. No mahogany, no glass, just clean, sharp edges and zero clutter. Rachel looked up from her laptop when I came in. She had a pen tucked behind one ear and a coffee the color of tar in her hand. "You good?" she asked. "You look like someone tried to hand you a church flyer in a bar." I dropped into my chair and nodded toward her screen. "Pull the Redstone reservation for the Johnson family reunion. Should be booked under Johnson Family Advancement Foundation or something equally full of themselves." Rachel blinked. What?" "Redstone Country Club, Fort Worth. I need the event contract." "Pull it now," she spun in her chair. "Do you want me to call them?" "No," I said, already flipping through my own folders. "I want you to access our holdings list. It should be under Redstone Group, LLC. Check the bookings for next month." Rachel squinted at her screen for a second, then turned slowly. "Wait, Redstone? We own Redstone?" I looked up. 2 years ago, picked up the holding company during that real estate asset deal when we took over Chandler Aeroparks. "Why the hell didn't you ever say anything?" I shrugged. "Didn't seem relevant until now." She just stared at me. "You're telling me you own the damn country club and your family's hosting a reunion there, and they don't know it?" I gave her a flat smile. "Now you're catching on." I grabbed my phone and scrolled for Mark Leland's number. He'd been with Redstone forever, old-school country club guy. Golf shirts tucked too tight, always smelled like aftershave and cigar ash. "Mark," I said when he picked up. "Dana Blake. I need a favor, Dana." "Been a while," he said, cheerful and clueless. "What can I do for you?" "You've got an event next month, Johnson Family Advancement Foundation. Make sure everything's flawless. Vendors, staff, logistics, the whole 9. No surprises." "Of course, that's standard. Can I ask what's got your attention on this one?" I looked at the framed FAA award again. "Let's just say I have a personal reason." He didn't press. Understood. I'll put my best team on it. Good. Also, give me final sign off on all vendor approvals, any event contractors, and site security plans. Don't make a big deal out of it, just route it all to me. Quietly, copy that. You want your name anywhere? Nope. Keep it under the holding company. If anyone asks, say it's routine quality assurance. There was a pause. You're not usually hands-on with social events? Should I be worried? I smirked. Not unless your vendors suck, he laughed. They won't. Anything else? If anything odd comes up or someone throws a tantrum, text me. Don't call. I'll be nearby. When I hung up, Rachel was still staring at me like I'd grown horns. I leaned forward. Nobody tells me where I do or don't belong. Not at Redstone. Not anywhere. So what's the plan? She asked. I'm not crashing their party. I'm hosting it. I just haven't told them yet. Rachel shook her head, smiling now. Remind me not to piss you off. I stood and grabbed my clipboard. Damn right. I walked out without another word, straight to the bay where the Hawker jet was waiting for final inspection. I had a flight team to prep and a party to oversee. I moved through the pre-flight inspection like I'd done it 1,000 times, because I had. Every rivet, every strut, every seal. My hands still knew the language, even if I had a team now that handled most of it. Funny thing was, I didn't start in this world with money or some business degree. I started with grease under my nails and a busted torque wrench. I was 24 when I got out of the Air Force. 6 years, 3 bases, 2 deployments. Crew chief on C-130S. I didn't want medals or some desk gig. I wanted engines. Always had. Ever since I was a kid tearing apart the lawnmower in my dad's garage. He used to yell about it. Said girls didn't do that. Said I'd grow out of it. Spoiler, I didn't. After discharge, I used the little savings I had to lease a grimy corner unit near DFW Airport. It was more rust than roof, but it was mine. I called it Blake Aviation Services and took every job that came through. Cessnas, crop dusters, medevac helicopters. I didn't care. If it had wings and a problem, I was on it. My family didn't get it, not even a little. This isn't a real job, Aunt Carol had said during one Thanksgiving. You're just turning wrenches. Like a mechanic, I was a mechanic. Still am, but not the kind she could wrap her head around. To them, I was the girl who worked in a hangar with a socket set and no college degree. Not something you bragged about over wine and shrimp cocktail. They never saw the overnight shifts, the frostbite from working in open bays during Texas winters, the clients who ghosted, the tools I pawned just to make rent. I kept pushing anyway. Started night classes at Dallas College, engineering and business courses. Took me 5 years to finish what most people do in 2. Between that and running the shop, I barely slept. Didn't date, didn't party, didn't care. At 29, I had 3 hangars and a team of 12. By 30, I pulled the trigger on something bigger. A crumbling aviation investment group run by guys who hadn't been on a tarmac in decades. They were bleeding money. I bought them out, cleaned house, and rebranded everything under Blake Aero Holdings. Now we manage and service aircraft for private clients, corporate fleets, and government contracts. We handle customs paperwork, fuel logistics, even flight crew rotation. Hell, I've had Gulfstream execs ask me for quotes directly. And still, my family talks about me like I'm the one who never moved out of her garage. That's how the Redstone property landed in my lap. It was bundled in a multi-site deal tied to Chandler Aeroparks. Most of the land had value for airstrip expansion. Redstone? Just a golf course and country club for high rollers who thought valet parking and champagne brunches meant success. I let it ride. Quietly, I had no reason to put my name on it. The management stayed in place. I focused on aircraft. But now I had a reason. If they wanted to celebrate achievement, they were going to do it under a roof I paid for, on land I owned, drinking mimosas from a bar I'd personally approved. They didn't need to know that yet, but they would. And soon. I finished my checklist, signed off on the inspection, and watched the jet taxi toward the tarmac. Engines humming, sunlight bouncing off the polished body, tail logo shining like a trophy. That jet was worth $14 million. We'd brought it back from the brink. So had I. I parked behind the equipment shed at Redstone, same place the maintenance crew used for unloading mulch and fertilizer. Slipped on my old ball cap, rolled up my sleeves, and tucked my work gloves in my back pocket. Worn jeans, scuffed boots, flannel shirt faded from 10 too many washes. I looked like I belonged with the guys trimming hedges near the 18th hole. That was the point. The valet didn't even glance at me as I walked along the hedge line toward the front circle drive. Uncle Tim showed up first, pulling in slow like he wanted everyone to see him in the custom-painted Tesla. Driver's side window down, one arm hanging out, Bluetooth in his ear. No, seriously, he was saying, I told the client, either sign now or I walk. They signed before dessert. He stepped out like he owned the place, sunglasses on, button up tight across his gut. He scanned the valet team, already irritated the second no one recognized him. Then came Natalie, heels clicking like gunfire, black SUV still rolling as she popped out. She had a Louis Vuitton bag bigger than her ego, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. I told Judge Nichols it was a clear overreach, she said loudly to nobody in particular, and he backed down. It's on the record. You can pull the transcript. She strutted straight to the entrance without even looking around. A couple guests gave her polite smiles. She gave them full courtroom nods like she was about to cross-examine somebody. Then Carol. She always arrived last, always made sure the crowd was ready. Champagne-colored Lexus, perfectly timed music as the doors opened. Pearl earrings, white sheath dress, 3-inch heels on a country club lawn. Bold move. She walked like the Queen of Texas, barking instructions to the event staff before she even got to the front steps. Make sure the champagne is Dom, not that California knockoff, she snapped. And someone tell catering not to mix up the vegetarian and vegan plates again. I walked up slow, hands in my pockets, staying casual. Excuse me, I said, putting a little twang in my voice. You folks know where the, Johnson reunion's meetin'? Carol turned, mid-command, and froze. Her jaw dropped like I'd spit on the carpet. Dana? Tim turned too, then grimaced like he smelled jet fuel. What are you doing here? I tilted my head. Thought maybe you'd reconsidered? Natalie pulled off her sunglasses with dramatic flair. Oh my God, is that what you're wearing? I looked down. Jeans, shirt, boots. You know? Clothes. Carol stepped forward, lowering her voice but not her tone. We had an understanding. Did we? She squared her shoulders. You work with your hands, Dana. That's not the kind of thing we're celebrating today. Natalie snorted. I can't believe you actually showed up. Tim shook his head. She probably thought this was a barbecue. It was loud enough for people nearby to hear. A few glances turned our way. I felt the heat rise in my ears, but I kept my face blank. I don't want to make a scene, Carol hissed, voice low and vicious. Too late, I said. Carol crossed her arms. You made your choice, Dana. This isn't your world, I nodded once. Got it. Then I turned and walked away, cutting behind the topiary wall like I was heading for the maintenance lot. I passed by the catering lead near the service entrance, gave her a thumbs up. You good on timing? I asked. She smiled. All set. Your team's been amazing. Good. Let me know if they need anything. I kept walking, hands still in my pockets, head low, not hiding, just patient. Let them drink their champagne and bask in their titles. They had no idea the ground under their feet already belonged to me. I stepped through the service door and into the back corridor, boots echoing against the tile. The air back there smelled like citrus cleaner and fryer oil. Redstone's polished front might have screamed elegance, but the guts of it were just pipes, wires, and hard work. Felt more honest than the ballroom ever did. Mark Leland was already waiting at the staff break area, suit jacket off, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. Beside him stood Peterson, Redstone's head of security, retired Dallas PD, thick-necked, calm-eyed, the kind of guy who didn't blink when things got loud. I handed Mark the printed contract. Section 7, line 12. Read it. He scanned it, frowning. Event must be booked under the accurate name of the organization or host. Any misrepresentation is grounds for immediate cancellation. Exactly, I said. They listed it as the Johnson Family Advancement Foundation. And that's not a real nonprofit? I pulled out my phone and tapped through to the Texas Business Database. No registration. No EIN. No filings. It's just a cover. Mark sighed. You sure about this? Dead sure. He passed the page to Peterson. You good with 5 minutes? Peterson nodded. Quietly, if we can. Loud, if we have to. Keep it respectful, I added. They're still my family. But make it clear they're done in the main ballroom. Bar closes, kitchen stops service. DJ gets unplugged. Full stop. Mark gave me a look. You want to tell them yourself? Not yet, I said. Let them react first. We walked through the side hall that led to the ballroom's back entrance. There was a small observation nook, tinted glass looking out over the main room. From there, I had a perfect view of the chaos about to go down. Mark gave Peterson a nod. The security team moved fast, 2 stationed at each ballroom door, 1 at the DJ booth. Peterson stepped forward, calm as ever, and addressed the room over the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? The crowd quieted fast. Nothing like a guy in a dark suit and earpiece to sober up a party. Due to a contractual issue, this event is being discontinued immediately. You have 5 minutes to gather your belongings and exit the ballroom. Thank you for your cooperation. You could feel the confusion ripple through the air. What the hell is this? Uncle Tim barked, half drunk and already pissed. Is this a joke? Natalie asked, grabbing her purse like someone might steal it. Carol stormed forward, heels clicking hard across the floor. Where is the owner? I want the damn owner now. I stepped out of the shadows and into the ballroom. She saw me. Her face went from red-hot rage to ash-pale shock in one breath. Hi, Carol, I said, calm as a frozen lake. You wanted to speak to the owner? She didn't answer. Her eyes moved between me and Mark like she'd walked into the wrong universe. Let me save you the trouble, I said, pulling the contract back out and handing it to her. Misrepresentation of host identity. Void agreement. Full authority to cancel. Carol's hand trembled as she took the paper. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm dead serious. Tim stepped closer, squinting like I was some stranger. You're the owner? I looked around at the chandeliers, the polished floors, the champagne still bubbling in flutes. You wanted to celebrate success, I said. Welcome to mine. Nobody spoke. They just stared, frozen somewhere between confusion and denial, like maybe I'd stolen a name tag or was part of some elaborate prank. I walked deeper into the room. The music had stopped. Glasses were still half raised, forks halfway to mouths. You could hear the soft fizz of champagne and the air vents humming overhead. I stopped near the fireplace wall where a digital display screen was mounted, pulled my phone out of my pocket, tapped a few times, then mirrored it to the screen. The Blake Arrow Holdings homepage popped up, bright and clean. Black logo over silver wings. Precision in flight, stamped across the header. Since you're all wondering, I said, loud enough for the room to hear, yes, I own this place. The holding company purchased Redstone 2 years ago during an asset acquisition tied to Chandler Aeropark's silence. No reaction, just wide eyes and locked jaws. I swiped to the next screen, an article from Aviation Today. The headline read, From Air Force to Air Boss, Dana Blake's Rise in the Aviation World. My photo right there in the middle, ponytail, flight suit, standing on the wing of a Learjet. Swiped again. A shot of me receiving the FAA Distinguished Innovator Award in DC, handshakes and all. This, I said, is what I've been building, while you've all been pretending I was still changing oil in a storage unit. I walked along the wall, tapping a metal sculpture of twisted copper and aluminum hanging above the bar. This one's mine, scrap from a decommissioned Gulfstream wing. Welded it myself. Redstone commissioned 5 pieces like this last year. Natalie's mouth opened, then snapped shut. She turned too fast and sloshed her drink all over her dress. The glass slipped and shattered on the floor. Tim tried to recover first, flashing his sales smile. Well, damn, Dana. You really pulled one over on us, huh? This is something. I looked at him dead on. This wasn't a prank, Tim. It's my work, my company, my people. You just never looked close enough to notice. He chuckled, but it died in his throat fast. Carol was still frozen near the stage, arms crossed, eyes narrow, lips white. You own this place? She asked finally. No tone, just disbelief. I do, I said. And I could have canceled this event before the shrimp even hit the ice. Could have locked the doors, rerouted staff, blocked the guest list. But I didn't. She flinched, just slightly. Then why all this? Because you wanted to celebrate success, and now you're standing in the middle of mine. She didn't respond. Couldn't. For once in her perfectly controlled life, she had no script. I let the words settle, walked slowly to the center of the room, turned toward the group. People who hadn't looked me in the eye in years were now hanging on every breath. I didn't come here to humiliate anyone. I said. I came to give you exactly what you asked for, a night to celebrate the family's accomplishments. And you'll get it. Full bar, live music, five-star catering. I'm not taking that away. Murmurs rose. Some looked relieved. Others just looked embarrassed. I stepped back toward the exit, pausing only once more. Enjoy your party, I said. It's still yours. Just remember whose roof you're under. Then I turned and walked out, boots thudding across marble tile, their silence dragging behind me like a storm no one saw coming. I didn't walk far, just circled the outer hallway, took a breath near the service corridor, and came back through the side entrance. By the time I re-entered the ballroom, the noise had started again. But it was awkward, thin, the kind of forced small talk people use when they don't know where to look. Servers were topping off champagne. Plates of filet and risotto were still being placed. The string quartet had picked up something slow and forgettable. I walked straight to the stage, didn't wait for an introduction, didn't ask for permission. I stepped up, took the mic from its stand, and faced the room. I won't take long, I said. I'm Dana Blake. I'm the founder and CEO of Blake Arrow Holdings. A few heads turned fast, others slower. Carol stood frozen near the bar, arms tight across her chest. Tim looked like he'd swallowed a bug. Natalie was still patting at her dress, pretending she hadn't spilled anything. I got out of the Air Force at 24, started with one leased hangar and a tool cart, worked nights, took business classes in the back of a warehouse, fixed whatever flew. I scanned the crowd. No need to yell, my voice carried. Over the years, that turned into what we have now: multi-state maintenance facilities, private fleet contracts, government repair services. Blake Arrow manages over 100 aircraft across the country. This place, I pointed at the ceiling, was just a line item in a larger deal. But now, it's personal. No one interrupted. You could hear the clink of a fork, the slide of a chair leg, but no words. I stayed quiet because it was easier. You had your opinions of me, and I let you keep them. Not because I agreed, but because I was too busy building something to bother explaining it. I let that land, then added sharp and clear, "You made it easy to let you believe what you wanted." Natalie glanced down. Tim scratched his neck. Someone near the back coughed, awkward. "I'm not asking for applause," I said, "and I'm not here to make you feel bad. I just figured, if you're going to host a celebration about success, you ought to know where you're standing." I took one step back from the mic, then leaned in for the final line. True success doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it wears steel-toe boots and carries a torque wrench. I clicked the mic off. No applause, no gasps. Just that stunned, suspended silence people slip into when the truth hits too close. I stepped off the stage and walked out without looking back. The next morning, my phone was already lit up before I even rolled out of bed. 43 texts, 17 missed calls, 2 voicemails. I sat on the edge of the mattress, bare feet on the cold floor, staring at the screen like it might explode. Half the messages were apologies, sloppy, vague stuff. "Didn't realize how far you'd come. Proud of you. You really shocked us last night." The other half? Business pitches. "If you're ever looking for legal representation, we've got a fleet of 3 small jets. Let's talk maintenance. Would love to loop you into our startup funding round." I tossed the phone onto the comforter and stood up. Nothing new. The moment people think you're useful, they crawl out of the woodwork like roaches. But then the second voicemail came in, one I hadn't seen the first time I checked. Mark Johnson, my cousin. I hadn't talked to him in over a year. He'd flown F-16s for the Air Force, now worked private contracts out of Fairbanks, Alaska. Never got sucked into the family's game of image and ego. Last I heard, he spent more time flying solo in the Arctic than talking to anyone back home. I hit play. "Hey, Dana, it's Mark. Just wanted to say, last night? I wasn't there, but word travels. I saw the clips. You crushed it. Honestly, I always knew you were something big. Didn't know how big until now. Proud of you. Really proud." There was a pause, like he wanted to say more, but didn't know how to say it. Then the line went dead. I sat there for a second, phone still in my hand, eyes on the blank wall across the room. That one hit different. Then came the text from Kyle. "Hey, Aunt Dana. I know things with Mom are complicated, but would you ever consider mentoring me? I want to get into aviation tech. Maybe drones. I could really use your insight. Maybe just coffee?" My treat. Carol's son, of all people. I stared at the message like it was bait, waiting to snap. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Another part, the part that remembered him building model rockets in the backyard when he was 10, Told me to give him a shot. I replied, Coffee Works, Tuesday, 9 a.m. Black Rabbit Cafe. You better show up on time. No emoji, no exclamation point, just enough to set the line. I pulled on jeans, grabbed my flannel from the chair, and headed out. Back at the hangar, the air smelled like jet fuel and hot metal. Rachel waved from her desk, already buried in maintenance logs. Client jet delivery on deck. A Bombardier Global 6000 with custom interior for a Silicon Valley exec. 2 months of work. She was gorgeous. I walked across the bay, palm grazing the smooth curve of the fuselage, my reflection warped in the polished body. Machines don't play games. They don't ask for validation, then try to cash in the next morning. They either fly or they don't. I grabbed my checklist clipboard and headed for the cockpit. At least these machines don't pretend to understand your worth. 2 weeks later, I was sitting across from Kyle at a steakhouse near Love Field. No ties, no suits, just jeans and decent button-downs. He looked nervous, kept straightening his napkin and clearing his throat. I'll be real with you, he said finally. I always thought you were just doing your own thing. Like, side hustle stuff. I didn't know you built a whole damn company. I took a sip of water and nodded. That's 'cause no one in the family ever asked. He let that sit. Didn't argue. After the waitress dropped off our food, I leaned in. So what do you want out of this? Why drones? Kyle set down his fork. I've been messing with designs for a while. Agriculture drones, stuff that can spray fields, monitor soil, do real-time mapping for ranches. I've got the engineering basics, but I don't have the know-how to take it anywhere. I looked him over. No bluff in his eyes, no fake flattery. Just a guy trying to make something real. You still working for that ag tech firm in Plano? Yeah, but it's corporate hell. I want to build my own system, something that actually helps the smaller farms. Not just push more product, I nodded slowly. I've got an engineer named Miguel who built a drone division for a military contractor. Quiet guy, smart as hell. I'll set up a call. Kyle blinked. Wait, you'd really do that? I said coffee, I told him. Not a lifetime ban. He grinned. Thanks, Aunt Dana. I pointed my fork at him. Don't call me that in public. That got a laugh out of him, and for the first time, it didn't feel forced. Later that night, back at the house, I found a yellow envelope in the mail. No return address, just kid handwriting across the front. Inside was a crayon drawing. Big blue airplane, stick figure girl with brown hair in front of it. Underneath it said, My Aunt Dana makes airplanes fly. I didn't even know Kyle had a daughter. I stood there in the kitchen, holding it in both hands, staring like it might fold itself into wings and take off. I walked it into my office and set it next to my FAA award on the shelf. Then I stepped out onto the balcony, looking out over the hangar and the airfield, runway lights glowing soft under the stars. I didn't need their validation, but now that they finally see me, on my terms, maybe we can build something real.